Hello and welcome to Indie Encounter. My name is Sandra Laraine Coleman. The mission of our show is to give independent performers and artists access to as wide an audience as possible, and to give you, our viewers, a window into their art, their artistic process, and why they have chosen their particular avenue to connect with the world. All art is about communication and connection. Wisdom went wandering the world, learning life lessons, giving advice and heartfelt hugs. Weary from her endless journey, she found refuge in daRiver. Let's meet today's indie artist, Reverdia, daRiver woman. Welcome back, Reverdia.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here with you.
Thank you. It's a blessing to have you here. And you know, I love your poetry. I love your work. I love you. But I want the audience to know that as a poetess, a writer, what inspiration, the process, do you shut yourself off from the world? Do you just write wherever you are? Because I know a lot of us have like pieces of paper and napkins and pull over on the side of the road.
That's right. That's exactly what we do. That's what I do.
Right.
No, I don't shut myself off from the world. Only when I need to regroup and recenter. But being out there in the world is what inspires it. You know, pain, joy. But for me, it's emotion. When the emotion gets so full in me that I can't contain it, I have to take that emotion and spread it across a page.
Wow.
Like you do paint across a canvas.
Yeah.
And it results in a poem.
Wow. So that is your canvas.
That's my canvas.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, that's my canvas.
And I like to say that we as artists, we have to see the poetry in everything we do. Work, you know, motherhood, you know, for fathers, fatherhood. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of job we do. Like if we're garbage collectors, veterinarians, whatever it is we do, we have to see the poetry in everything. So where do you see poetry?
We do. We have to see poetry in everything. Poetry is a compilation of words. And as you were speaking, it occurred to me that, you know, poetry is that fleeting thought. And poets like you and I somehow have the ability to put that thought down, and it results in a poem.
And sometimes we're the voices for maybe people who can't necessarily get their point across. They have something to say, but they can't make their point. So
we are, you know, and there are poems that have changed how we do with each other. Shakespeare.
Yes.
You know, there's so many things that he said that we repeat daily and don't realize who we're quoting.
Right.
But you know, that the kind of stuff has changed things. It's caused a shift.
And so in the poetry community, I see you as the stage. Where do you see yourself in the poetry community?
I see myself having earned that title. Thank you very much.
You have earned it.
I have, and it wasn't cheap either.
Right.
The poetry that I write comes from life.
Right.
I have one called, I brought it, The Color of My Skin. Just a little part of living. In this country, there's a difference made in the color of skin.
Right.
And it's not exclusive to any culture, I'm finding.
Right.
So
since you brought it, would you like to share?
Of course.
Yes.
Want to hear it? Here it goes. Excuse me. So, you're overwhelmed by, perhaps underwhelmed by the color of my skin? Doesn't seem to fit the scheme of your partitioned reasonings about how things should be according to who? According to what? You have a question about the color of my hair? A bottle. How did you guess? Based on my mama, my daddy poured passion into a single vessel, breaks the bones of your carefully constructed institution, predisposed supposing. What it's supposed to be like. You nervous yet? And the color of my eyes, superstition about juju and stuff, dang, they're just hazel. Reflecting my daddy's green eyes sparkling at the side of my mama's frame, that's all. Louisiana ain't got nothing to do with it. These are Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Indian Territory, Irish, African, and Cherokee mix of daring anybody to say anything about the love between different looking people. A little uneasy, you see, feeling prickly? So, they tell me the skin of folks in parts of Africa, black as blue, takes a beautiful indigo night to reflect on the skin of a place where life began. In Wollo Province, Ethiopia, they tell me there's a woman there look just like me, royal, round, regal, tall, and reverent, with a tattoo alongside her tender face says she's a holy woman. Healer with warm in her hands, soothe all your doubts and hurts, bring God to your feet, your heart, and all your scenarios, real and imagined. Bring you under his wings of refuge. Can't nothing be wrong with that. Locked in fragmented spaces, seemingly made whole by walls erected to keep out truth under the guise of acceptable, reasonable, palatable, like you know it all. Say, I think I'm all that. I hope you think the same about you. Old African man wrapped his exiled, wrinkled arms around me, said, no matter what you look like here, there's someone there who looks just like you, because that's where all of you comes from. Took me 50 years to get your monkey off my back. Yeah, my hair's curly in about 2.5 millimeter diameter, and that's nappy. And who defined that as ugly? Because it requires artful hands, more attention and conversation between grandma's knees during plaiting, wisdom, and loving sessions. Some poets even say that's when they braid prayers in your hair for lives of trouble-free living. Grease and scalp for ease of learning and figuring, twisting love into your thinking, so you can see clearly about talking God down over your every step. So, the color of my skin makes you nervous? Well, while your knees are shaking and you wringing the hands of your trying to get to my beginnings, I hope you trip and stumble over my love and simply fall in a puddle of understanding that everything ain't always what it seems. And all imposed information ain't for digesting, and yes, I am a round, regal, real reverent, revolutionary holy woman set down right here by my ancestors' directive DNA to tell you living life is more than empty, condemning, judging assumption about something we have nothing to do with. And yes, I am that holy woman. They call me river flowing from Zion, and I hope you were listening.
We were listening. That was beautiful. Twisting love into your thinking. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so meaty, you know, so relevant, so timely.
And see, that's the result of an emotion. I was out in public in a store somewhere, and somebody thought something different than who I am and what I am. And I got my feelings hurt, and I had to get it out, but constructively.
Right.
I've learned, now there was a time when I didn't do it constructively.
Right.
You know, I grew up in a house full of walls and doors that were full of my poetry, hanging off the hinges and, you know,
yes.
whatnot.
That other kind of poetry.
Yeah.
So beautiful, though.
Thank you.
The way to put it. And then it's something that we all can relate to because, well, a lot of us, because the color of our skin can mean something different to everybody.
Right.
And you can get a different reaction depending on the color of your skin.
Right.
And I think you touched on all the emotions and all the reactions and, you know.
I was full that day.
Yes. Yes.
And then, you know, your height, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too big, you're too small, your hair's not long enough, it's too short. It goes on and on and on, but
Exactly. Exactly. That's a wonderful piece, and a wonderful piece that I think a lot of the youth could benefit from. You know, I think a lot of their problem is they don't understand what everybody else is seeing yet.
Yeah.
They haven't reached that point that,
Right.
you know, and they sometimes have the worst image attached to them. So
They do.
I think if they could get a clear understanding and definition of what they're projecting.
And see, that's another reason why poetry is so important. You can get the importance of changing the way decisions are made to adolescents through poetry. They'll listen to poetry.
Yes, they will.
They'll listen to poetry.
They will.
You know, because it feeds them and it teaches them at the same time.
Right.
So it's important. It really is.
It is. And we were talking earlier about the budget cuts and art in schools and tell me, I've experienced it, but tell me, because of the budget cuts and the lack of art in school, how has that, tell us about the negative impact it has.
I work at the Watts Towers Art Center. The Watts Towers is a historical landmark. There's an art center there. Kids come through there who come from backgrounds that defy description. And they come through there dark, they come through there hidden, they come through there withdrawn, afraid, bitter, skeptical. And I watched one kid come through there hooded in a black sweatshirt. I think he was 7 or 8, maybe 9. No, he was 9. He spent some time in our art class, and day by day I watched the hood come off. I watched that black sweatshirt come off. Then I watched him start wearing bright colored shirts. And he felt the need to be tough so as not to be touched or approached. And as a result of this art class, I watched him sit in the grass area, just watching bees, which is something he would have been, you know, he would have been beaten up for.
Right.
Beaten up with words, beaten up with attitude, or literally beaten up.
Right.
But he found the vision and the courage to be who he was.
Through art.
Right. And he didn't stay long because his family moved. But I know for sure wherever they moved, whatever he does, whatever circumstances he's forced to live in that are not as wholesome as we would like our children to live in, now he has something to reach back to.
Right. So he was there long enough to make a change, a positive change.
Right. He was there long enough to find another expression for whatever it is he's feeling.
Right. And that's what art does. And so
that's what art does.
If they would put more into the artistic aspect of it instead of the other stuff that they're trying to do, you know, and I don't want to take anything away from education, but we have to have everything. There has to be a variety, you know.
That's an important component of education.
Yes, there has to be a variety. And so from a political standpoint, because I voted for Barack Obama, but from a political standpoint, as an artist, where do you see poetry in the political arena? Because I know they've had Maya Angelou at the White House, and I can't remember the young lady's name that read when Obama was elected.
At his inauguration.
Yes.
Fortunately, there are some, and it looks like they're few and far between, who appreciate the need for art. I believe his name is LaBonge. He's on the LA City Council. He's a proponent of the arts. He understands the importance of art. There may be others that do, but he particularly caught my attention.
Right.
But I find across the board, bureaucratically, when there's a lack of money, the first thing they start cutting is the arts.
Right.
And what I see where I am is when they start cutting the lessons in learning to express oneself and communicate, it's having a permanent negative effect on our society,
Yes.
on our civilization,
Right.
and on the social climate of the cities we live in. Because if kids don't have a way, if youth doesn't understand that there's a wholesome way to express themselves, they're kids. I mean, you remember, you're going to find a way to express yourself.
Yes. Be it negative or positive.
Right.
And people have been expressing themselves through art since the beginning of time. I mean, it's like a part of our DNA. You can't take it away. But if you do, there has to be something to replace
suffer,
it.
and it stirs the
Yes.
imagination. That's why
Right.
technology has made the strides it's made, because somebody's imagination was stirred.
Exactly. Exactly. A computer is nothing but an art project, you know?
Pretty much. It is for me.
So, tell us about your grandson.
He brought me home a cold this week. My grandson will be 3 shortly, and I've made it understood in my home that we are to get out of his way and let him do what he does. He is disciplined. He knows he has chores to do. Picking up his toys one by one is his chore. And he has his manners. He does his pleases and his thank yous, etc. But other than that, we just let him go. And he'll be 3 next week. He's starting to pick up on reading on his own. The thing that amazes me is he loves jazz. He loves Miles Davis, which for me is saying a lot.
Heavy.
But he loves music, and his communication skills are way beyond his age.
Wow. Amazing. So him being around you, I'm sure, has helped to bring that out. Like you said, the Miles Davis and the playing the drums and everything else. I'm sure that, and he can only benefit from being in that environment and with you.
Right.
And having said that, I know you have another piece that you would like to share.
Another piece? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Living the truth means being a friend, and I want to disclose to you, my trusted friend, my deepest flaw. My need to be gloriously happy for others, to bask in the shadow of someone else's glory, to taste a sample of someone else's accomplishment, set my own aside for this precious moment and celebrate with you. You. I need to know you're fulfilled, laying down like a child spent, knowing that you know you've finished this piece, you did it, and thought enough of us to share with me your elation, knowing it would not go in vain here. And isn't that what friends do? Thank God for our flaws in your accomplishment. You remind me the many forms of love sometimes fill the flaws and transform them into wings.
Wow. Fill the flaws and transform them into wings. You have to have some of the most classic lines in poetry. And so when you're writing these lines, I gotta know, where do they come from? Because they're just...
You want an honest answer?
Yes.
I don't know.
You're
No.
kidding. I need a recipe.
You know what? When I pick up a magazine, they go, "What are you reading?" I go, "The pictures." I just let myself go when it comes to pictures and graphics.
Wow.
I love words. I love words.
Because you paint these exquisite pictures, and I can see everything that you're saying. You know, some poetry reads well. Some recites well. Yours, if I read it, I would still know.
You know, there are a couple of people who I consider great poets their names may not be all over the place. They may not be necessarily celebrated, but Peter J. Harris, Michael Datcher, Janone Adams, A.K. Tony, Dee Black, Connie, Alice the Poet.
Wow,
You.
yes. Wow.
I listen to poets, and it's amazing how the inanimate is given a garment.
Wow. See, I would have said life. You said given a garment.
See, I don't know where that came from.
It's your soul speaking.
It is. It's our spirit that witnesses. You know?
Yes. Yes. And that was very beautifully put, give the inanimate a garment. I mean, that right there sounds like a line of poetry, and you keep doing it.
It's just, like Scarecrow. No.
Well,
But-
yeah, you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And we
do.
talked about that earlier. You have a responsibility, and these are things you're supposed to give us another way to look at what we're seeing.
When something is stirring in you that you can't deny, it requires expression. It just does.
Right.
Everything from picking out whatever it is you need to pick out to procreation. That's how we got here.
Right.
We got here because an emotion was stirred, it needed to be expressed, and here we are.
Right. Thank God
That's
for
real
the
basic.
emotion. Yeah, it is. It is. And thank God we are here.
See?
Thank God that emotion had to, represent itself in our form.
And emotions are important.
They are so important. And now I've heard many poets and writers say that writing poetry is therapy.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is
okay.
therapy. It's therapy for me. As a kid, I everybody knew I wanted to be an artist. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to focus, but that was shut down and it was quieted because I needed to go to university for 4 years, which I wanted to do, but the rebel I was, I didn't.
Right.
And be a teacher. And it turns out that I teach anyway.
Yes, you do.
But I needed to say something, and I had to find a way to say it because I felt like I was going to explode.
Right.
I had to find a way to say it, and I started writing.
So at what age did you start, or was it something that was always, I know you say you knew you were going to be an artist,
Somewhere
but
between 6 and 9.
yeah, okay.
I got in trouble because I wrote a story and took it to school, and teacher called my parents because they wanted to know where I got the story from.
Wow.
So, just let me say, it's important that we don't tell our children to sit down and shut up. I mean, yes, there's a time and a place for that, but
Right.
they need to be who they are.
Right.
They
Right.
need to be who they are.
And we need to encourage that. We need
Yes,
to
we do.
encourage them finding out who they are.
And once they're able to express themselves, they can relax and accept what it is we have to tell them
Right.
and what it is we have to teach them. But if they're all pinned up and frustrated, they're not going to hear us.
Right.
They're
right.
just not.
Right. And so we will be doing them a great disservice if we silence them.
Yes.
That's no good for anybody.
No. And if we silence ourselves, we're doing them a disservice as well.
Exactly. Exactly. So, again, thank you so much for coming and blessing the room, the stage, me, the audience.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
It is such a treat.
It's
And
good.
I know they're going to feel the same way. I know they are. And I know
so.
they're going to contact you for their events.
Okay.
And we're looking forward to that. We're looking
available.
forward to seeing you more and hearing more from you, the sage of the poetry community.
Okay, good. I'd love to come back. Thank you so much.
You're
It's
so
a
welcome.
blessing. It is a genuine blessing, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, and I love you.
Love you too.
This has been Indie Encounter, a journey into the world of the independent creators of art and artistic communication. I want to thank today's guest, Reverdia, for sharing her vision with us. If you want to find out more about today's guest, check her out on Facebook/Reverdia. Also, check out our website here at PasadenaCommunityNetwork.com and select the Arroyo channel. Thanks to our director, Lilia Fernandez Gaspar, and to our crew for making the show possible. Thanks to all of you. We hope to see you here again when we embark on another Indie Encounter. Thank you. That was so good.